Hello everybody, the iLord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Back to Basics. So, we actually got a lot done last episode, and I think we should be fairly proud of ourselves. But now we are actually going to fulfill two very important contracts. The first one, of course, being this guy right here, to build a new surface outpost on Minmus. That will net us about 135k, and then we also have this orbital station here, which we did not get much of an advance on, and we may not actually make much on in the process. But we do want to do this, because it's high time that we have these things in orbit. We also have this guy right here, which I thought about doing this, but when I was trying to build a rocket and a facility for it, there was a bit of a problem in that the plane wheels don't count as wheels, so that's important to remember. You can see I've already spent a little bit of cash here, and so that is something to point out. But I think we should go ahead and, I guess between the Minmus mission and the space station mission, we will get this guy going. So this is 43 grand, well within our budget. I'm going to send along Calford, and then I think maybe it would be a good idea for us to send Gilfrey in case we have any rovers there. Now, the engineers, as it turns out, are very limited in what they can repair. I did a small test with this. Let me get this rocket going real quick. Incidentally, I do want to point out that I've unlocked some parts that we need to launch these guys. Most notably the jumbo fuel tank, but also docking ports and things of that nature. But yeah, anyway, the engineers don't really do much, as it turns out. Just show engineer here. I'm going to turn off our orbital stats. Let's select Minmus as our deal. I want to get this guy taken care of first because of the fact that we have such a long way to go. And there we go. We need to keep a small eye on our thrust to weight ratio to ensure that it does not get too high. But the basic idea here is that these engineers have this one issue of being able to repair wheels and landing legs. And I believe that's about it. And that's really just fine by me. What we do want to make sure of is that we do get out of the atmosphere with minimal trouble. Oh no! This is a bit of an issue. Because we have no parachutes on this thing. Fortunately, this thing is tons of Delta V. And we're going in the right direction for Minmus. But we will not be able to depend on gimbaling to help us, because I accidentally staged. whatever I do, I want to keep this rocket attached to us at all costs. I do not want to flip this guy out. This unfortunately means we're going to need quite the inclination change. To correct our orbit here. Okay, let's do what we can to mitigate that. You know what, I think we're actually at a more than sufficient orbit here. This is not really preferable, but we got plenty of delta V, so I'm not going to worry about it so much. I'm going to just kill a little bit of this inclination here. And we're going to get into as high as an orbit as we can, or as low as an orbit. I'm going to go for, oh, I don't know, I think 70 should really do the trick. I don't really think we're being helped much by this. Unfortunately, there's very little we can do to get around the fact that we are burning 400 meters per second of delta V. Except maybe I can try not to accidentally stage again. This guy's supposed to be a decent pilot. I don't know why he would do such a thing. I think maybe we should just leave him in space again to teach him a lesson. Oh well, there's really nothing that can be done about that for now. And it doesn't really affect our, I mean, it does give us less delta V. But we have plenty of it, because this guy is supposed to go out to Minmus and land on its own power. Other things we're going to be doing today, in addition to getting this, you know, these two stations going, is I'm going to hit this guy here, and this guy, and I'm going to use a new rocket stack to do it, because of the fact that, or I'm going to use rather the ERT rocket stack, because that's essentially free money for us if we can manage to recover these things. We are still quite out here. I'm just gonna kill it at 80. It would be better to be circular here, but there isn't really much we can do about that. we are not good for an off-plane transfer, so let's just correct our inclination here. Again, plenty of delta V. 200 does seem a bit much, doesn't it? Had I actually set this up correctly, we would have actually gotten pretty close to this. Maybe not as close as I would have liked. However, I do want to leave some fuel for landing. I don't think it'll be necessary to get this thing into orbit as such, so I'm going to leave this at maybe 1 degree. Or maybe 0.5. I think we can do our transfer with 0.5. This, of course, presents quite the problem. In that, well, first of all, we're going to have a moon intercept, which is not at all what we want. Because the moon being in the way is going to cause issues here. And that's just an unfortunate fact of life for us. Let's reduce this once or twice. If it were not for the fact that the moon is going to be in the way here, that would be a lot easier. But I think we can do it. If I can get past this lunar encounter. In fact, I'm going to try and get this guy as close to the plane as possible. That appears to do it. Now, is there a way we could, maybe because we're doing this kind of transfer this way, maybe that's the reason why we're having such trouble. There we go. We will... That gets us there in 5 days, which will be more than enough time for what we're trying to do. Unfortunately, that's 2 hours. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video and complete the burn. Or, you know, maybe we'll just go ahead and launch the space station and get some loose ends out of the way. I think that's the appropriate thing for us to do, and I'm going to go with it. So let's add this guy. After all of this trouble, I think these guys deserve a little bit of a rest. They also probably want their solar panels out, because you know, it gets cold in space and they need to run their space heater. Which, incidentally, is not something you would probably expect to find in space, is a space heater. You see what I did there? Yeah, I'm not going to push the issue. Anyway, let's recover these launch clamps. And let us launch our station. Now, our station, at least nominally, we're taking a loss on. And if I can find that, that's Kerbol Station 1, or Kerbin Station 1, rather. We can put Lubin in. And Keldok needs some training. But I'm not going to send up an engineer quite yet. Because there's no real point to it. Lubin could use the training, though. So this time, I will be careful when I hit the stage button, because that button will cause us much pain and misery if I'm not careful. That is a classic mistake that people tend to make when they first start playing KSP, is they hit the stage button maybe twice, and there's stage lock for it, but we don't need it. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and get this guy inclined. I'm going to turn on my orbital info because I do not, in my HUD, have the inclination, which is something I really do want. Now, this guy has a number of features on it, including stuff to fulfill the contract, of course. But one of the things it has on it that makes it nice, in addition to lights, of course, because it does get dark in space, is we have room to expand. I've added this tricoupler here because the large docking ports... Whoa, I'm going way too fast. Alright, we'll go ahead and stage this guy, and might as well begin turning. It has this docking port largely because of the fact that we'll want to expand it, and I think it's worth pointing out that you simply do not get the docking port, the big docking ports that we're used to, without unlocking the last upgrade to the science facility. Inclination, we're quite inclined at the moment. I want to get this down as close as possible, not necessarily to zero, but I think to an easy orbit that we can get to from here. That would be good. Maybe I should raise my periapsis a little bit. I think... Well, there's a good reason for that, actually. I know this stage isn't going to get us all the way up. And I do want to get to a decently high orbit. that much would be very helpful to us. And these engines are incredibly weak. I mean, they can get us up part of the way, sure. We still have a fairly long way to go here, though. And the sooner we get up, the better. Now we're slowly losing our altitude here as our time to apoapsis is going down. We've still got ourselves a good minute or so. But that's okay. I mean, I think we'll actually have plenty of fuel to spare, and once we get this up to 100 kilometers, which is really all I'm looking for, really, we will be fine. And it's just a matter of getting these teeny tiny engines to push us in the right direction. Now, I mentioned I have this tri-coupler here for stability, and that is no mistake. The tri-coupler, as it turns out, is necessary because one of these docking ports will flex. And that is okay, I suppose. I mean, we don't want it to flex too much, of course. Oh, we're a little bit past our deal. Moon tank is still waiting. So let's get this orbit set up. I think we're actually at a pretty good inclination for our purposes because we're simply trying our best to get this guy whoa, okay, that's probably a little bit too high. 103 by 103. I'll take that. I will definitely take that. If we have 3 of these docking ports, though, then when we attach something to it, then flexing won't be an issue. I'm also going to turn on our lights here. And that won't be useful now. Oh, pardon me. That won't be useful now. But that will be useful later. Whenever we get this guy expanded, because there will be something to push against that other docking port when it decides to flex. So we have 11 seconds on this burn. It's not incredibly important that we get this guy precise, but I would like to get it as precise as possible. let's just go over here and finish the rest of this burn. We just need 1 meter per second. Our inclination looks more than sufficient here, so I guess while we're waiting for the sky, we should have a look inside our space station. So, of course, we have our lights on, and we're in the daytime. And if I have this thing oriented correctly, then what should happen is we should be able to see Kerbol below us. So this is going to be our observation deck here, in addition to mission control. Oh, speaking of which, now would be a good time for me to turn on the parking brake. I happen to have the brakes wired to the engine, so now we can hit up and nothing will happen, or hit shift. If we hit B, we can see the all-in joke about the different things that Kerbols rather bring with them to orbit. And of course on this other side there's, you can't really see, but there's toothbrushes and something else. But yeah, I think that for now we have done a good thing here, and I certainly do like the result. We will have to do science from here. In fact, let's go back and see our contracts, because we do have an opportunity for more money probably. And more money is usually a good thing. I mean, we are at a decently healthy budget here. But I do want this money situation to be rectified, and instead of clicking on the contract building, I instead click on the hangar. Let's just do something about that. Now, we have build a new orbital station around Kerbol. No. I do not believe I will be doing that again. Polar satellite around Kerbol might be good. And that's worth 59. Intense science. All of these require surface scans on the moon, so I'm going to get rid of that. We don't want to test parachutes. Hey. We can do that. Why don't I set this up when we, get these guys launched here? I will probably go ahead and get the 2 satellites up real quick, or at least get them to where they need to be. But that is a good test. I like that. And I think that is actually, if I'm not mistaken, that is actually the thing, the twin engine deal that we unlocked. We'll get rid of this orbital station here. Temperature scans are not good. Let's see what we have so far. we have the polar satellite. I thought maybe I should go ahead and take this. Uh, that may be worth testing. We don't get money, but we do get science, and I do like me some science. And this guy here, we got 5 days to decide on it. But I'll go ahead and take it. We will get these guys ready. And I will see you. Well, I guess maybe I should show you the thing I'm launching real quick. This guy is using the new Earth stage. And, I actually thought about putting it on Barney. Barney is really underdeveloped. Let me put it that way. It's hard to recover Barney. And so I need something good here for that. But, this guy is going to be the most difficult thing for us to do, so I'm going to get him launched. Very low inclination, very high orbit. So it's a decent test of our systems. So I will see you after everything's been launched, or right before we take our moon tank into its proper orbit. So I will see you then. And we are back. So I went ahead and put those couple satellites into orbit. I haven't deorbited their respective rockets yet, but that's because we got this guy to focus on. And so the basic idea here is that whenever we reach our target here, that is to say, this 239 by whatever, then we will fire this guy. We have to be going below 520, and then somewhere around 70 kilometers or so, we will bring this guy back down. Now, I've put a ton of landing legs on here, as it is very important that we recover this guy. It does happen to be very expensive. And I'm just going to get ready to do this now. I'll move this guy up here, I believe. We can right-click on the engine and run the test when necessary. So let's just get this contract taken care of real quickly, and then we will get that burn going. So, yeah, bring this guy up, if it'll stay up. And unfortunately, the reaction wheels are missing, so I'm just going to do what I can to recover this guy real quick. We will see. Even these 32 parachutes are not enough, it would seem. That's okay, we can put in an inline reaction wheel to help drive it. It seems that the gimbling on the engines is simply not enough. But we are almost down here. And there we go. At least we know this works. And we did not lose that. I bet you, well, we lost a little bit of cash, sure. But for the most part, 98% of the funds, we got most of our cash back. Let's, make a minor tweak to this guy. Now I'm gonna go ahead and bite the bullet. We have money. And money is a good thing for us to have. And on account of the fact that we have money, I am simply going to unlock this guy. Because, why not? I think this will afford us the control we need. At least did it better. But, yeah, there we go. We're now back. Maybe should have put some stability enhancers on this. But I think we'll be okay. Yeah, we are now moving up quite rapidly. Where is that contract? There we go. Just keep that guy open real quick. I think that we will have more than enough Delta V to get off here. I'm gonna bring up the gear as well. Not that it really matters that the gear is out, because the gear does not create drag, I do not believe. And we might as well go as far up as we can with this. I have a feeling we'll be able to make it. I do have to moderate my speed just a little bit. Because by the time that we reach this zone here, that could be fairly quickly. We may yet run out of fuel. I'm pushing it as it is. But it's important that we do maintain the amount of thrust that we want. Okay, what happened here? Why is this? It says for some strange reason we're not flying. I don't quite know what the reason for that could possibly be. That does not really matter to me as much, as long as we can... Now, where is our apoapsis? Well, we at least got that. Whether or not we are flying, I think is questionable. Wow. Yeah, we're at Apoapsis at least. Though not landing in a particularly good spot. Hopefully this will be enough. I think the landing legs will at least bear rather the brunt of the weight. But if we lose that engine, I won't be terribly happy about it. I think maybe to be flying, we have to have a horizontal trajectory of some kind. Okay, I'm going to ease up on the time acceleration here. Oh, that's not bad. That's 4.7 meters per second. That is enough for us to survive if something bad happens, which I have a feeling given the terrain we're landing on, it just may. So I'm going to be ready to recover this vessel as soon as it lands. And we don't have to worry about that anymore. We have tested this and we're far, far in the black. This is another thing we can test, but I do want to, since we have to get into orbit, I do want to make sure that we do have a good deal for it, at least. So I'll accept it. But, we'll leave that for now. Because we have something more important to think about here. We have the moon tank, which should be in the process of completing. I think we have one more orbit to complete here. That reminds me, I need to mark the space station as a station. That would probably be optimal. I believe we were at 24 seconds when I last looked into this. We have about a minute to prepare. Well, you know what, I'm just going to fire up the engines now. There's no point on waiting on the alarm. Okay, 219. So 109 is what I'm going to burn at. The nice thing about these engines, at least, is while they do not have superior braking power, They do give you some time to reflect on things and to make corrections as necessary. And this is going to be quite helpful for us because we really would like for this to be a success. Now, I've already gotten plenty of money. That's not really my concern. In fact, I may have enough money and perhaps research by the next episode for us to send Bob some nice facilities. I mean, we can't send him a rocket to rescue him because that appears to be beyond us. But you know, there's nothing saying that while he's stranded on the moon, that he can't live in his own space mansion. The rule is that this guy has to be on wheels. Now, I don't know if that means that it has to be supported by wheels for 10 seconds. If so, that is probably a greater challenge than I may be able to deal with. That is a rather difficult thing to do, after all. Interesting. What's our abscess like? Let's maybe try to correct this, because this is... I think part of it is that we're not stable. That has something to do with it. We'll do the time warp band-aid. Oh, come on. There we go. Moon tank rather has 4 days to worry about that, which does give us a little bit of time to correct some loose ends. Such as this guy here. This guy needs to be put into orbit pretty soon. And we're already nearing pretty close. But we have to raise our apoapsis just a little bit. Our periapsis is about where it needs to be, so I'm not going to worry about that. But our apoapsis needs to be 3186. So I am just going to try to remember that. Wow. Okay. A lot easier to make. This correction here. .3194 versus 3191. Well, I will take it. I don't think that'll take too long for us to do. To be absolutely honest, we'll just delete this alarm because it's not needed. And I'm just going to do a test burn. It looks like we should burn around 15 seconds or so. Or thereabout. It doesn't have to be perfect. But it does need to be okay. That's 3186 that we want to reach. Oh, just a little bit more will do it. That should be good enough for us. More money in the bank for us, it would seem. And that is not a bad place to start. Really, it's chump change compared to what we have. But I think now I'm gonna skip putting the polar satellite into orbit for now because I don't really feel the need to. Now I'm just going to skip ahead here to this guy. Now we're 15 minutes ahead, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason we're 15 minutes ahead is because of the fact that I want to become properly oriented here. Also, I thought it may be a good idea to adjust this just a little bit. So we're at 1296 versus 12397. I'll take it. Orbital maneuvers way out here don't really count for much. I mean, we're out by the moon. We're further than the moon. In fact... Oh, come on. There we go. So what is that, 12396. A little bit too far. I think that will be good enough. Let's see. There we go. Well, we are raking in the science so far, and that does make me somewhat happy. But we need to get this guy, this mission here, we need to get it landed. And there are at least people in space for these guys to talk to. I want to make the space pretty close, I think, to the, pretty close to the equator. We're kind of steeply inclined right now, so we're pointing north. I want to point south. Okay. I think that'll be okay. Pointing towards the planet. We are cutting it fairly close here. Although, you know what, I think we will probably be fine here. Let's just move on in just a little bit. We've got ourselves a fairly crowded orbit. I'm gonna change the sky to a space station, I think. It's the only real way to roll. And we'll call this Minmus Base 1. If we zoom in just a little bit, in fact, we are pretty close to where we want to be. Where I want to be in particular is where that flag is. That seems like a fairly reasonable place to land. And I think we should be able to do it. But we do not want to have another tragedy here, for sure. So one possibility is if I determine that there's simply not enough Delta V to land, and the fact of the matter may be that there may not be. Then we will leave the sky in orbit. Okay. We can do a little bit better than that. 245. I'm gonna go for it, I think. We're going to be very slightly inclined, though. And we may end up pretty far away, actually. I mean, we do want to avoid having these guys die, even if they just happen to die as heroes. Because there is that inconvenient problem that when they do die, that they're dead. And I've got 3 people here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull off the same stunt that I did with Bob. Bob's stunt is fairly impressive, and I do not know if anybody will be able to replicate it anytime soon. Okay. 224 meters per second. That, I reckon, is probably plenty to land with. But you know, you never can really tell. For a suicide burn, we need 167 delta V. Or 167 meters per second, rather. Okay, we're getting pretty close here. It won't be long, I don't think. Let's just lower ourselves as gracefully as we can. May turn on the lights too, so we can get an inkling of what we're doing. Alright, final burn here. Well, it was a rough landing and we ran out of fuel. But we're less than a kilometer away from the flag. And not only that, we have seismic data we can send. And Calford here, once that gets sent, can step out and do all of the things that we were not formerly able to do, such as, well, we have an EVA report, of course, but we want to take a surface sample, maybe transmit that back, and then maybe send out a flag, or plant a flag rather. And we will say, landed by the seat of our pants. And, oh, I don't know, maybe, we hope people, maybe Kerbin, sends more supplies soon. Now, this actually leaves us in a pretty good position here, because first of all, we have a base, which we did not have before. We have science that we can gather. And even if we did not have science to gather or to send, we are now back up to over a cool million. We got 400,000 more to go, which means we could consider a number of things, including unlocking the VAB. I'm just going to return to the Space Center. We've completed a bunch of contracts already, so I want to see what's available. If we get any real crazy contracts that we can utilize. This is building an orbital station, which I do not wish to do. Geosynchronous orbit for 95, that is a good one, definitely. Let's just get rid of this, see if... Position a satellite in equatorial orbit. Not really worth it. This is worth science, so I'm going to take it. And as for this, it could be interesting. I think this is more interesting to me because we can take temperature scans and we can just put a vessel up into orbit for most of it. But we can send out another one of those probes to do that. It's worth a fair deal. And as for this guy, I need to figure out what it is I'm going to do, to tell you the truth, because maybe with the boost in science we get, but this is operating under the premise that we could have little wheels, and what it means for the base to be on wheels. We can actually land Bob's base and get a fair amount of science, plus if we go back to it, we will see other things as well. Like, I think it's worth a ton of cash, for instance. Let's just pull that up. Where was that? Yeah, these guys here. It's worth more science than cash. But on the other hand, if that doesn't pan out, then maybe I'll investigate something like nuclear engines. But That will have to be in another episode. And until then, this is Thy Lord Root, and I will see you later.